Hello and welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. I'm your host, the Nerd Man, and please give me a high five. Do like, subscribe. I've got a part one to this video where we're discussing, Jody's exposure of Zack Snyder's universe and how that kind of impacted the Ray Fisher investigation. So I want to go straight off the top because this is a point that I was making in the former movie. About the problem with Zack Snyder movies, about why they aren't doing that billion-dollar business, why there's not people going for repeat viewings of the initial. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Justice League because Snyder has like an army of fans now, but certainly in the beginning, why Man of Steel and BVS failed, but not because of the tone, but precisely because of something not being right with those movies, that they were not connecting with people. All right. Just checking my audio. All right, good. So I wanted to start off with some proof just to, really cement this, to look over Man of Steel's box office, BVS box office for the first weekend, and compare that with Joker and compare that with Aquaman, right? So let's go to the initial box office of Man of Steel. So Man of Steel, opening weekend, box office, 128 million. I don't know if that's globally, if that is, that was simply domestic in the US. So yeah, basically it's 128 million. Let's just say that's global, right? Like um, 668 million by the end of it. We compare that to Aquaman. Aquaman box office opening weekend. Aquaman to conquer box office with 17 weekend goes on to generate $1 billion, right? How did it do that? 7 million, right? From 70 million to $1 billion. That's legs. And that's a movie I don't even like, but people somehow connect with that movie. 70 million opening. All right. So let's go on to BVS, right? Clocked an opening weekend regarding first, the good news: the film snagged a 166.1 million opening weekend, right, including an 80.1 opening day and a mammoth 422 million worldwide debut. So this movie was halfway there to $1 billion in its opening weekend. $422 million in the opening weekend. That's a lot of tickets, a lot of people. That means a lot of people didn't go back and rewatch that movie. How do we know that? Aquaman opening, 17. Even if Aquaman's opening was big globally, can't see the global figures. It is not. It is not going to be 428 million in opening weekend. Wonder Woman was nowhere near that. The Temple has already generated 332 million from international market. BVS was, like 422 million, 22 million, like over a million more, and didn't get to that $1 billion mark. Something wrong. Something isn't right there. Let's look at Joker. Now, Joker makes 93.5 million. Its global gross on the opening weekend was 234 million. Okay? What story does that tell you about BVS and about Man of Steel? Something isn't right. Something's wrong there. And we can't just blame that on the tone, because we saw exactly how much the Joker made. It's not the tone. It's not even the critics, because Aquaman has a critical score that isn't great, and neither and so does Joker. Joker and Aquaman on Rotten Tomatoes about 64, 65 range critics reviews of Aquaman and Joker, right? Bigger opening weekends, similar mixed critical like actual critics response to them, and yet these two non-Zack Snyder movies in the DCEU make a ton more money box office wise. How does that work? How is it possible? Okay, so I wanted to start off there, just get into this. Now let's go back to Jody's corner to kind of continue this discussion. So I'm hoping by now we're going to move past the kind of analysis of the BVS and Zack Snyder and why it went wrong. And I don't want to rag on Zack Snyder. That's not what I'm here to do. But I'm here to try and talk about the division. And I can't heal the division, so I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not trying to heal divisions between the both sides of the DCEU. The Zack Snyder camp, and then there's the camp that perhaps likes the non-Zack Snyder movies. And then there's this camps that think, oh, the DC should all be dark and serious, and ones that think it should all be light and fluffy and MCU-like and should be doing what the MCU is doing. I think both sides are wrong. I think the DCU forged its own way, specifically with 3 movies that they need to look at for being both critical and commercial successes. Shazam, Wonder Woman, Joker. All right? So let's go on, because Jody was basically saying that Wonder Woman was very not like a Zack Snyder movie, and I disagree. I think there was a lot of relationship between the Zack Snyder movie and Wonder Woman. The thing that Wonder Woman did right was it had a good script, basically. It had a good script, but it was set in a realistic world. The cartoony, the more cartoony the DC movies, the more the failure, to the point that you've even had now a box office failure, complete. It didn't even make its money back in Birds of Prey. Everything that has been more dark, more grounded, more serious, darker humor, like in Suicide Squad, with Shazam dealing with real issues around the foster care system, with Wonder Woman dealing with real issues of global war, or with the Joker dealing with issues of mental health, this kind of issues. All of them have done well. Zack Snyder's movies, same thing, dealing with real world issues, but something missing. Something Zack Snyder isn't doing right. And I think it's on the storytelling level, and on the level of this not meeting the expectations of what these characters are supposed to act like and be. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after, about the characterization and why, Zack Snyder fans just don't seem to understand. You can't make a Superman movie without Superman in it and expect for it to be successful, or without an idea that people have about Superman in their heads, wrong or right, that he's this optimistic, nice guy who saves cats from trees, right? You can't do a Superman movie without that type of Superman, that optimistic guy in it, and expect it to be successful, right? We'll talk about that a bit later, and I'm going to give an example.
Who can ruin his career? Why would someone? It's really come down to comment.
Okay, we're just freezing for a second. And I think we've hit right at the point.
Money in there too. I want to do my part. They shut it down because why?
I don't care about
My
this
dislike
whole
for
T-shirt
Snyder
fiasco. He has been complaining about like being attacked, by Snyder fans, and I feel sorry for him. It's not a great thing to happen, but in the end, I don't care. You could come onto my YouTube channel, talk smack about me, talk shit about me, say you want to kill me, as long as you're not in a nearby vicinity and it's not a serious threat that I feel like I need to take to the police because I'm in serious danger. I don't care what you say. Right, so I all of that stuff doesn't interest me. What does interest me about what Jody is saying is has Zack Snyder been trying to be disruptive to the DCEU as a revenge, because he can't accept that his movies didn't work. They didn't work for general audiences, and Justice League might. General audiences may have moved on. Their tastes may have developed by now, and Justice League might hit the mark for them. I think it looks kind of quite good, despite the trailer not having any, dialogue. I like the tone of it. I like, and I feel that maybe he kind of backed off a little bit of, the completely, dark versions of these characters, because of what the backlash to BVS. So I think there's going to be a little bit more balance, because, we're not going to get Zack Snyder's vision of Justice League in his 4-hour Justice League movie. What he filmed was a heavily studio noted movie. And we're going to see how that turns out, because I think studio notes can be good sometimes. I think Wonder Woman 84 could have done with some studio notes, as we've seen. Studio notes aren't always a bad thing, I don't think BVS, you had to put that 3-hour movie in the cinemas, it still would have had a similar reception to what it had. Okay, so let's go.
Outweighed the love of preventing suicide. And that's the hypocritical thing that I want you guys to understand. This is how dark and deep they go with it. Ye Fisher came at me and called me a homophobe to the world, added me into the news. I had to destroy Ye Fisher's lies. I've made countless videos about Ye Fisher and how he's a hypocrite and a liar, defending myself. He tried to cancel me, uncancelable, fought that, won that. Ye Fisher is definitely the boy who cried wolf. He is the first Black Karen. And when he came out with all of the allegations, Joss Whedon, John Berg, and Jeff Johns, it was peculiar because he's doing it at the height of the Black Lives.
Okay, so I haven't spoken about Ray Fisher in some time, and there's been a lot of developments with Ray Fisher, saying the usual vague, undescriptive kind of stuff. I heard like some people were trying to compare what Evan Rachel Wood, did with Marilyn Manson to what Ray Fisher has done, making a vague statement, just putting it out there. However, I would disagree. I think Evan Rachel Wood has a much more compelling, argument than Ray Fisher does, because, she had other people supporting her claims against Marilyn Manson, right, who go into detail. She didn't particularly go into detail herself, but other people went into detail. Now, do I still believe Marilyn Manson is innocent until proven guilty? Hell yes. He still deserves the due process, but it doesn't look very good for him. And I'm going to do a video about Marilyn Manson and really about that as well. But going on to the Ray Fisher situation, it's always been vague. The things that he has said, I mean, like, my barber wasn't credited, that's racist. you know, there was other things. And I hate, like, as a black person, I'm always willing to listen to, because I know that racism exists. I've had racism in workplaces. I've had racism in my life that I've had to deal with. So I know how that feels, and it's not nice. But I just, you know, and maybe he's being smart about it, that, you know, this is the best way to lay out his evidence. But if you want people to believe you, but you don't want to tell them what actually happened, you just want to throw out this person was racist, or this person was this is, then don't give examples that make you seem trivial. Because when you say they didn't credit my barber, so what? When you say they color coded a black person because they wanted them to look lighter, so what? That's what you do in the movie making process. You color grade people, right? All the specifics that Ray Fisher has ever given seem not like very compelling things that, you know, he says Josh Whedon called him up and told him that he's got a new cyborg and he's really happy with him. So what? Jeff Johns trolled him a little. Who cares? Put on your big boy pants and deal with it, right? But then again, Ray Fisher may have really, really dealt with some racism, and this is his process, you know, of exposing these people, these racists, or people who've acted very badly to cast and crew, right? So this is his process of exposing it. But if you're going to do that, right, make sure you're careful not to make yourself look silly by adding ridiculous things like your barber, you know, wasn't credited on a movie. Who gives a shit, right? You brought in a barber. They didn't tell you to bring in that barber. He's not credited in the movie. That's his problem. That's your problem. That's not That's not what a movie that is costing $300 million has to be worrying about right now, Ray Fisher. This is big money. And another thing I want to say, just before I go on, let me forget, is that there seems to be this argument that, you know, Zack Snyder, he really didn't deserve this. Zack Snyder was fired, as far as I'm concerned, from Justice League. And I think that he is bitter towards having been fired. And a lot of people are like, well, it's an artist, and you know, you shouldn't just allow another artist to come in and remake, you know, another artist's work. This is not a personal painting or a piece of music, you know, where somebody's editing your words in a piece of music or a piece of. This is a $300 million movie, none of which Zack Snyder paid for. He was commissioned to do a job, just like, you know, Michelangelo or Leonardo, right? If Michelangelo had been told, you know, about the Sistine Chapel, right? Dude, we don't like what you've done. I don't care if it's a masterpiece. The people who are paying and commissioned for that work have every right to go, nah, man, repaint the whole thing. We don't like the way it looks. Would have been devastating to human history, and not knowing what Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel would have actually been, right? But nonetheless, it's their fucking chapel, their money, right? They get to say what goes into it. Movies is even worse. You're talking about 300 million. You bet your bottom dollar, if I invested 150 million into a movie and I don't like what the director's vision is, I will take that director off the movie. I don't care if his wife, sorry, and I'm going to be cold about it, right? If his wife is sick, or if, you know, his kids are, you know, in business, that's how you have to be. You have to be a little bit ruthless, right? And it's terrible timing that they did. But the writing was on the wall from Man of Steel, not even from BVS, from Man of Steel. They should have never gone ahead with BVS in the first place. That's where I think they made their mistake. And I'm not saying Zack Snyder should have been fired. You're an idiot, Warner Brothers, for firing Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder should have been put on material appropriate to what he does, i.e., give him a Batman movie, give him a Joker movie, give him, a movie where it's source material that he wants to adapt page for page, like he did with Watchmen or like he did with 300, right? Or give him a strong screenwriter and say, look, we really want you to follow these beats, Zack Snyder, right? And if you can't do that, then sorry, we have to move on. They should have done that from Man of Steel. There should have been some, not, oversight in the sense of not letting him be creatively free, but give him the opportunity to do a piece of work where he can be at his most creatively free, but you don't have to worry about it so much. Like a Batman movie, or like a Joker movie, like a Dark Knight Returns movie, where he loves the Dark Knight Returns comic book. Adapt that. Adapt that thing. Just like you did Watchmen, do that. That's what you needed to do with Zack Snyder, right? Use him in a way that draws upon his strengths, right? So I never thought that you fire someone that's talented and cut ties with somebody as talented as Zack Snyder. But hell no, you don't let him do Justice League after BVS and Man of Steel have underperformed. And I've proved they've underperformed because they had bigger box office weekends, but smaller overall box office than other DC movies, including Wonder Woman, including Aquaman, and including of course Joker. So once again, it's that thing. So we're going to go into as I was just trying to illustrate, just Zack Snyder didn't unfairly get fired from anything. He unfortunately got fired during a horrible tragedy, and it's terrible. And I'm glad that he's now being able to show the movie as he wanted it to be, and possibly even having had time to make it better than it originally was. That being said, all of that being said, it's not his money. He didn't invest a penny into it. He is not entitled to make anything. It's Warner Brothers money. It's Warner Brothers film. He understands that when he comes in and does movies and whatever for them. And he has no right to suggest to fans that he was hard done by. This is not just a piece of art. If it's just a painting, I'm making a personal painting in my room or something like that, and somebody comes in and draws over it and says they're trying to make it better, you best believe I'll be pissed off. But that's not what a $300 million movie is. It isn't the same thing. It's not the equivalent. Think about this. If you had 150 million sunk into the Justice League movie, and you thought, I don't think this is working. I don't think this is what audiences want. The test screenings are not going in the fashion that I believe they should go. If that was your money, would you risk it? No. And they made a mistake because they did a stupid thing. They brought somebody like Josh Whedon, who's got a completely different directorial style, takes away all of the grounded reality that makes the DC movies special and different from Marvel, and makes it this Saturday morning cartoon. Nobody liked it. They don't like their DC characters like that. They should have let him finish Justice League. They made the wrong decision. But that is what we call a classical case of what do you call it? Is it Monday morning quarterbacking or something like that? Where you basically, have the benefit of hindsight to say, oh shit, that was really a bad idea. Shit. But when you've got 150 million plugged into it, you might be cautious about your money, extra cautious to the point of actually, and they got their comeuppance. The Warner Brothers lost. That's the justice right there, that they lost so much money by being greedy and firing a guy that, had made half the movie and not letting him just complete it or giving him time to complete it. Everyone in the world would have understood, hey, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide, guys. It's horrible. Can we give this director a little bit more time to finish the Justice League? Everyone would have understood that. Nobody on the planet would have been going, oh, well, there is, because it's the internet, but very few people would have been going, oh, this is outrageous. We want our Justice League movie now. There will be a few people. But in general, people would have understood that, look, the man needs a bit of time to be able to complete his movie. And if he couldn't complete his movie himself, let him handpick a director to finish it for him, rather than, just bring in Josh Whedon. Did the Avengers $1 billion movie, so he can fix this movie. Doesn't work like that. And the Justice League, I know for a fact, would have made more money if it was Zack Snyder directed. Why do we know this? Because Zack Snyder has built a very dedicated army behind him that almost reach cult level standard. I may not have liked it. I may have liked it. I'm not sure, because I liked BVS, but I didn't like what he did with Superman, right? So his Justice League would have made more money than Josh Whedon's Justice League. No doubt in my mind. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. Would an original Justice League movie made by Josh Whedon from beginning to end have maybe made more money than Zack Snyder's Justice League? That is up in the air. But I think DC are making a stupid mistake by going to MCU, picking off directors like James Gunn and Josh Whedon, and trying to get them to do Marvel movies at DC. I think it's stupid. Or getting their original directors who've done good jobs on the first movie, like Wonder Woman, and encouraging them to do, oh, let's make it more MCU. Let's make it more fun. Let's make it more like, no. Okay? Anyway, let me finish this.
Lives matter. And I said, this timing is suspect. The cold came for me again. I theorized that Zack Snyder put Ye Fisher up to using his blackness at the right opportune time. The death of George Floyd was a sad one, but for the first time in history since the Civil Rights Movement, white America to us black people, and Ye Fisher and Zack Snyder conspired to utilize Ye Fisher's blackness and use the Black Lives Matter movement heard on allegations that were absolutely bullshit.
All right, there we go. He's going to give some evidence towards this now. I suspected right from the jump that this may be what Ray Fisher was up to. And I thought there was a very, very good evidence to support that. Now, do I believe Zack Snyder has a part to play in it? If you asked me that 2-3 weeks ago, I might have said maybe, but not a big part. Not like an architect part. More like, Ray Fisher might call him up and he'll be going, good job, guy. Good job standing up for yourself. Standing up for what's right. Supporting him like that. Maybe in the back of his mind with a little cynical thought like, I'm really fucking over the DC execs that fucked me. But I wouldn't have thought, this man's a serious architect of this. And, maybe there was some discussion, not like, let's, call the, Josh Whedon and Jeff Johns racist and label them racist and ruin their careers. I don't think it's that black and white, ironically, no pun intended. But I do think the conversation may have gone something like this. Like the perception of things that happened on set that could have had very, very innocent, very, very innocent motivations by Jeff Johns or Josh Whedon that could also be interpreted as racist. Ray Fisher has just gone ahead and decided, I'm going to interpret that as racist. I'm not going to discuss it with them. I'm not going to find out what their true motivation was. Maybe it was just they didn't like me. Maybe it was just a coincidence, that certain people got, taken out of the film. Or maybe it was because the 2-hour limit didn't allow them to put all of these wonderful actors of color in the movie, so they had to be taken out for the main stars, or the main 5 stars. Maybe it was just that they were under high amount of pressure and they were being a little bit insensitive. But Ray Fisher has decided to go, no, that was racist. That was their intention. It was racist from the very beginning, and abusive and gross and disgusting and all of these kind of things, rather than, no, these guys are caught in the fog of war and they may have innocently crossed the line due to greed, ambition, passion. Like I think Jeff Johns is passionate about different versions of the DC characters, which I think are very, very flawed. Looking at Wonder Woman 84, I recognize Wonder Woman in there. It's not a great look for her. I mean, I'll give it this much above Man of Steel. Yeah, it's still Wonder Woman to a certain degree, but it's very, very Wonder Woman without any fucking balls, Wonder Woman 84. Just no wow factor to Wonder Woman, right? It's just like, oh, let's do a campy Silver Age kind of comic that nobody reads anymore, right? So right, and if that's what Jeff Johns wants for all of these characters, I said the same thing about his version, because I think his version of Superman, I think the version of Superman in BVS, in Justice League, was the same kind of cartoony bullshit that was the problem with that depiction of Superman. I honestly don't think a Superman movie that is that cartoony as he was in the Justice League is going to do any better than Man of Steel. It is not the way to go forward with Superman. You need to put Superman in a more real world. It just has to be done better than Man of Steel. You still have to be able to recognize Superman in this realistic world, right? So all of the things that I'm saying is basically, with Ray Fisher, there were more innocent reasons why Jeff Johns and why Josh Whedon and why some of the executives may have been acting like they have. But I also think that somewhere in the back of their minds, both Ray Fisher and Zack Snyder, perhaps not even admitting it to each other, maybe they have, maybe they haven't, are thinking, I want to get rid of all of these enemies of mine in the DCEU. And maybe if Justice League is successful, I could get my position back at DC because AT&T is now in charge. And maybe I could get my Cyborg movie somewhere down the line. I completely agree that that is a strong narrative, and there is strong evidence right now, as of now, to support that interpretation of events, unless Ray Fisher comes up with something more meaningful than my barber wasn't credited on the Justice League as an example of racism. That is not racism. And to call it that does a disservice, as Jody is saying, to very serious issues of racism in the United States at the moment. it's appalling to equate that and to bring that out, amidst serious accusations of abuse that are going on in the media at the moment. Whether I know of them or not, whether I know the reality of them or not, whether maybe they're false or not, at least the people who are against Marilyn Manson are saying, hey, this is what he did to me. At least so that he can answer the charge, of what they're accusing him of. At least, the same thing is happening right now with Arnie Hammer. People are saying details. They've given evidence, receipts of, what they're accusing him of, so that he can answer, what was happening there. And they may still be innocent, but at least they're given, the opportunity to answer back, to those charges. And what I've always said is, if Ray Fisher, something really did happen to Ray Fisher, then in a way, he is justified for acting the way he's acting. But nobody is justified for supporting him at this moment. You cannot support somebody until there's a proper trial, proper objective, unbiased investigation, and you can see the results, what people are accused of and what they have been proven to have done. Otherwise, you're just canceling people. It's cancel culture. And it's dangerous. It is dangerous what is happening to Arnie Hammer. And I'll talk about that in a later video at the moment, where all we know is that he sent some, weird, awful texts of a sexual nature to people and did some things that they consented to, but at the same time, they were uncomfortable with that later. If that's all Arnie Hammer has done, or that's all we know about what Arnie Hammer has done, why is he getting dropped from labels? Why is he getting dropped from movies? That is weird, McCarthy-like state of being. And I think what he said in those texts, for instance, was awful. We'll go into that in another video, sorry. But facts are facts. Until he's gone for a trial and the information comes out where we can see that some illegality or something truly unforgivable kind of, racist tirades or something like that, that we can prove happened. We have witnesses, we have, then all of this is, we don't know what he did to Ray Fisher. It could have been, the guy was an asshole. But that's not fireable. That's not the man's life must end. People can grow, change, forgiveness. Jeff Johns, after all these years of what he's done for us in comic books, you can't, give him the benefit of the doubt. Josh Whedon, after all these years of what he's done for us in TV and film and what, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt and just say, okay, it looks bad for you, bro, but I'm going to wait to hear what you did, see that it's proven, and then make a decision on what your punishment should be. I'm not even going to wait. Somebody has accused you of something, you did it, therefore, because that you've been accused, films, you have no career. Going outside, you have to count. You have to take yourself off social media. You have to isolate yourself because everyone is gunning after you. That's wrong, and it's dangerous. All right.
Why would a black man who doesn't have any movie experience, only comes from a couple of roles on Broadway, why would he be out of come for producers who can ruin his career? Why would someone do that? It really comes down to common sense, ladies and gentlemen. I think, he's noble. He's falling on his sword. Let's be logical here. Ladies and gentlemen, he has a safety net. He was given assurances that if you get these people out, let's use your black skin. Let's use Black Lives Matter. Let's use you being on the end. Let's use this moment to attack now. Not a year ago, not 2 years ago, not 3 years ago when it was fresher. Now, because the Black Lives Matter is important and let's do it. Get them out and I'll get you your Cyborg movie. You want your Cyborg movie? You want to take over? Let's take over this place. You got to get John Berg, Jeff Johns, and all them up out of there. That's what gave him the gas. Ladies and gentlemen, Fisher ain't brave. Jay Fisher is a pawn and a tool. Zack Snyder whispered in there. All of this is Zack Snyder working behind the scenes. He has a legitimate vendetta against John Berg, Jeff Johns, and Joss Whedon. That's exactly why Jay Fisher did this. And then
you know what really strengthens this narrative? Because it's the goalpost being moved every single time by Ray Fisher. First, it was Josh Whedon. Jeff Johns just enabled him. Then it was Jeff Johns sending racist notes and saying racist things through back channels. Then it was Jeff Johns. We're going to focus on Jeff Johns. Every tweet is going to be about Jeff Johns. Okay, wait a second. No. But there's actually two bigger guys now. I forget one of their names. Emmerich, the guy Emmerich, who's one of the producers. Then he starts focusing on him. But it doesn't really work with Emmerich because he wasn't, really there. But I've got to somehow weave, Emmerich into this because he was not for the Zack Snyder vision of this movie. He didn't like it. Then, even further, he starts going after Walter Amado, a person of color, no less, calling him, saying he's the most dangerous type of enabler. More dangerous even than Jeff Johns. Wait a second. What did he do? He defended his friend. He didn't agree with me immediately when I asked for tried to call his friend a racist. When I was accusing his friend of being abusive, a friend that he'd known for quite a long time, and thought, wait a second, this doesn't match what I know of Jeff Johns. Matches a bit of what I've heard about Josh Whedon, but doesn't really match what I know about Jeff Johns. So he tries to defend him. That's enough for Ray Fisher to call him a dangerous enabler. Now, you take all of this into account. He's going after Emmerich. He's going after Walter Hamada. He's going after Jeff Johns. He's going after, people who apparently were only there as enablers to the person who committed the actual crime. Why would you do that? Like, if somebody commits a crime against me and, there was a guy in the vicinity, in the area, who just watched as it happened, like he's just there and he's watched and he doesn't do anything, yeah, I'll be mad at him. But I'm not going to blame him more than the guy who's fucking beating the shit out of me or stabbing me or something like that. Right? Unless he's part of their gang and like the guy like said, But if there's just like, random people who are standing by or vaguely know about it, right? And they just kind of like, they walk past as the crime is happening, right? Because they don't want to get involved. I'm not going to go after them. Well, I would be angry with them. I'll say you're a piece of shit of a human being and you're an asshole. But it's the guy who stabbed me who committed the crime. Right? So why would Ray Fisher be going after these guys is the question. And my answer is this. He feels somewhere in the back of his mind, even though he thinks what he's doing is righteous, and he's standing up for the little guy, and he's standing up for the craft service people, that he feels somewhere in the back of his mind, he's getting vengeance for his friend Zack Snyder, because he's part of a cult-like mentality of people who love Snyder movies. And I always say this to people like Point Dexter, who wants to, mention his, like how he's not a Snyder. Tell me this: if Ray Fisher made similar accusations against Zack Snyder, the Zack Snyder that everyone knows and loves, with all of his great movies that he's given us, like Watchmen, like Dawn of the Dead, arguably Man of Steel. Loads of people love that movie. BVS. If Ray Fisher had have come out and said similar claims, oh, he's gross and abusive. Oh, but what did Zack Snyder do to you, Ray? Oh, I can't tell you. I can't tell you what he did. I'm doing an investigation, but I don't want Warner Brothers doing that investigation. I want the head company doing that investigation because I don't trust Warner Brothers. But Zack Snyder is a bad guy. Just trust me. All right, cool. Once the investigation's over, we'll find out what Zack Snyder did. Oh, Ray Fisher, the investigation's over. So can you tell us now, what did Zack Snyder do to you? Oh, it was bad, man. It was bad. I can't tell you. I'll keep you updated. But I'll tell you this much. He was being a racist. Zack Snyder, a racist? Really? Because he seems to get on with a lot of black people in other movies he's done. And he seems like he seems like a surfery type of dude. He's really a racist? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll give you a few weeks to let the investigation clear. Then you'll tell me. Oh, you know what he did? I'll give you a little gem. I'll tell you a little gem. Zack Snyder didn't credit my barber in the Batman v Superman movie. What? Do you see what I mean? Zack Snyder fans would have backed Zack Snyder. His cult would have been crucifying Ray Fisher if he had been doing this to Zack Snyder instead of Josh Whedon, instead of their enemies. They are supporting this because they have some misguided belief that this somehow helps them get their Snyderverse back on track. And what they absolutely hate is when movies like Justice League, when movies like Joker, and I'm sure the next Batman movie, and movies like Wonder Woman, which they now try and co-opt as their own. When movies like that aren't directed by Zack Snyder are massive successes, and people like them. Even though Joker's really dark. It's a really dark movie. Somehow, it's dark, but people like it. It's $1 billion movie. Why is that? Why has Zack Snyder failed and Joker succeeded? That's the question these Snyder fans need to start asking themselves. And they need to really think about what I just said. Imagine for a moment, Ray Fisher had accused Zack Snyder in the exact same fashion as he's accusing Josh Whedon, never telling you anything of what Zack Snyder is supposed to have done. You're trying to tell me in your heart of hearts, you would be like, I stand with Ray Fisher. No, you damn well wouldn't have. All right, so I'm going to finish this section. I think that's a strong point to finish off on. And then we're going to do one more part 3. Oh, thanks for, wow, I've got a lot of comments here. I didn't realize. Jody's lying through his teeth, 870 million. So thank you, Kal-El. I'm going to start a new video. And thank you, Alex F. as well. So actually, I'll answer some of these just in case you're still watching. So thank you for your comments. I'm going to try and get through some poignant ones. So Alex F says, definitely understand you not liking his Superman, but Zack Snyder had a 5-picture arc for Superman. We were literally watching Kal-El become Superman before our eyes. Okay, what I always say about doing a different take on a character is, if you're going to do a different take on a character, Alex, that make sure that it's really, really strong and it's better than what the comic is, right? So let's take something like Joker. The Joker is really different in the Joker movie from how he is in the comics. The source material they took that from was The Killing Joke. But it had a really, really strong angle on something that is recognizable as the Joker, recognizable enough as the Joker, but is very, very different. Right? So, in that sense, the problem with Man of Steel, Superman, is really that it wasn't a strong enough different take on Superman in terms of the actual character, not in terms of the world. The world was interesting, and the world building of like him being in a realistic world, that was a little bit strong. It could have been done better. There was a little bit of plot holes here and there, but could have been done a lot better. But the actual take on the character was a less likable take than the one that we already know, the one that people actually enjoy. So this 5 arc, then he was going to become Superman. I say this again and again to people. Wonder Woman, Shazam, Spider-Man, Dredd, Kick-Ass, Batman in Batman Begins, Batman in 89 Batman. None of these characters, all of them had origin movies. None of them were we like, by the end of the movie, that's not Wonder Woman. That's not Kick-Ass. That's not Batman. That's not Shazam. That's not Aquaman. Even Aquaman, which I don't particularly like, at the end of the movie, he's fucking Aquaman. Why, with Superman, would you need to take a 5 arc thing? And I was happy with the way Man of Steel ended up, by the way. It wasn't a terrible, end place. I didn't like him neck snapping, but whatever. I was down to support the movie if the next movie had have just gone in straight into, like, let's look at the status quo Superman. Let's look at, Clark Kent, Daily Planet, Superman, optimistic, happy. Then maybe you can deconstruct him later on, right? But to tell me I have to wait 5 movies before you get to a Superman that I recognize, I don't like that. And I'm going to finish off with this, Alex F., because I forgot to put this up. This is Mark Waid, the writer of Superman Birthright, which is a movie that Zack Snyder based a lot of Man of Steel on. And what he has to say about Zack Snyder's Superman.
Barely call you.
Okay.
And but that's the game. The game. I can't be upset about that because that's Superman's story, unless Clark is in there somewhere too.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just you don't have to like defend or validate or try to I don't know, I guess what do we call it? Validate your opinion on Man of Steel. Like, we're actually on the same exact page with that film. Like, I don't think you hate it, just like I don't hate it. You and I are like eye to eye on that. I reread your review prior to recording just to kind of make sure I didn't misrepresent anything. I know everyone likes to say, because it's a big appealing headline, oh, Mark Waid hates Man of Steel.
Right. That's the shorthand of
yeah.
It's become. Yeah, exactly.
But in actuality, like, you and I are on the exact same page. We're like, the first 2/3 of that movie are actually a pretty darn good Superman origin movie. And I'm a firm believer that, like, and it's kind of unfortunate, but I feel like some of the best Superman moments in that movie are before he puts on the costume.
Oh, by far.
Right?
Yes,
like, like with the school bus rescue, The way he saves the bully there, the whole thing where like you get that sense where he knows he's putting himself in peril and that his father's going to be upset, and he's opening himself to all this scrutiny and all this potential danger, but his innate goodness will not let him stand idly by and let anyone get hurt.
Right, and it will not let him succumb to the teachings of the Kents, the most evil couple who ever lived. You owe them nothing. Shut up, Mark.
Or the maybe he should have let them drown or something.
Yeah.
That was definitely kind of questionable.
There's a being raised by Ayn Randian, libertarians is not the way to go with Superman. No.
Yeah, but I mean, just needless to say, though,
So I'm gonna go more into that later, but I hope Alex, that essentially I've answered your question about this 5-story arc and why this is what Mark Waid was saying in that you can't he's got this take on Superman, right, that doesn't allow you to be patient enough to go through a 5-story arc before he becomes the full Superman. It's not a strong enough take, right? And he's got a position, a lot of people are like, oh, but you just want the Christopher Reeve Superman, and you just want a Superman that does, Superman. No, I've never said that. I've never wanted that. And a lot of other people, don't want that. And, people like Poindexter Lounge, here accuse us of not reading the comics. This Poindexter Lounge guy, not reading the comics. And that if we read the comics, we'd know that there's more takes than one on Superman. Yeah, there's a lot of takes on Superman. There's a lot of takes on Wonder Woman. There's a lot of takes on Batman. But there are more popular takes that comic book fans of Superman, that fans of cartoons, that fans of movies enjoy more and recognize more, that are more penetrating into the imaginations of people in the popular, the popular kind of reception of these characters. And if you're going to subvert those popular expectations, then you better damn well do it good. You really need to come up with a strong point of view. And what it proves when they're saying to us, oh, we don't read the comics, we don't understand the comics. Well, here's a comic book writer, Mark Waid, written one of the best runs, most popular runs of Superman that there's ever been, thinks Man of Steel missed the mark a lot. And he's just being nice about Man of Steel there. He's being very, very polite. You can tell it broke his heart. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that because otherwise this is going to go on way too long. I think I'll finish because I haven't got much more to say on what Jody said. I want to thank everybody in the comments section for commenting. If I knew you were watching, I would have basically responded to you. What does that mean, Kal-El? All what Warner Brothers past DC projects flop, Birds of Prey sucked. Anyway, the one thing I was going to say, just to finish this off, because I don't want to do another video on Jody's corners thing. It's interesting, but I think he's made his point, and I think we've all made the point, is that Jody's corner, or Jody, basically has done a really good job of laying out his theory, and he's backed it up with some very, very good evidence regarding the man who he basically met, that he interviewed, that he spoke to. This is Zack Snyder's best friend that he spoke to, who basically, admitted that Zack Snyder has a huge problem and is hugely angry. And you can tell by a lot of what Zack Snyder has said, both in recent times and in past, that he's hugely angry, and that there might be a motivation there. There's good evidence to suggest there's a motivation there by both Ray Fisher and Zack Snyder to really take it to these executives that took him off this movie. So we'll leave it at that. And thanks for the comments. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed. And I'm going to be doing next a Game of Thrones breakdown of my favorite characters, or a breakdown or tier list of characters. And I'm going to be talking about the Arnie Hammer and Marilyn Manson cases as well in my next videos. So please feel free to like, subscribe, discuss in the comments section. It's been a blast. Thanks for listening.